Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, this week, I wanted to discuss the fear of failure and how to get over failure when we go through it. Because I feel like in the day and age that we live today and social media, everybody always posts and boasts about their successes and how amazing their lives are and the places they go and the things they wear. So it's very easy for a lot of people to feel like they're a failure because they can't live up to the expectations or to what's portrayed on social media day to day. But remember guys, that's very unrealistic. It's only a snippet of someone's day. It's very short-lived. Everybody always wants to show their best parts, not their failures. And I think that's why we find it so hard to deal with that, because nobody talks about it. Nobody openly discusses their failures. And that's why when we go through a failure or something happens in our lives that we feel like we've acted like a failure, then it's so hard for us to get back up and move on and differentiate that from who we are and our mistakes, because we feel like everybody else is perfect. Everybody else's lives are perfect. I'm the only one who makes mistakes like this. I'm the only one who keeps failing. And that's why I think we find it so difficult to get over that. And that's why I think we find it so hard to take risks. The reason why we're so fearful of failure and why we find it so hard to get over failure, because it just seems so stigmatized and so hidden that it makes us feel like we're the only ones that always fail. Well, let me tell you, that's not the case. I myself have had so many failures throughout my life and throughout my career. When I first wanted to start modeling and I was going from agency to agency to try and get signed up officially, I had done a shoot, but I wasn't represented by an agent, so I needed to find representation. And I kid you not, I went to about 7 different agencies and they all turned me away. And when you're 14 years old and you feel like, oh my God, I am it, and then you get told, no, you're not it actually, you're not it for us, you don't suit this, you don't suit our look, continuously, that's not easy. And you know what, if I wasn't so determined, I probably wouldn't have been in the career path that I am today, because I was so determined and I had such a tunnel vision that even though I got told no several times and I failed several times to find representation and find an agency, I still continued finding the one that I fitted for, the one that was suitable for me. And then that's how I ended up. Or even when I went to Miss World, I failed that, because in my head, every girl that goes to this competition and represents her country, they believe that they're going to win. That's why you put all the time and effort into it. So obviously I went to Miss World, I didn't win, but that was at 18, and I felt like such a huge failure. Like I didn't even just let myself down on my family, but I let down the whole country. As Miss England, I let down England, and that was such a huge pressure on my shoulders at the age that I was and how I felt. If I let those failures dictate who I am, what I am, and my self-worth and value, I assure you I would not be sitting here today talking about it to you guys. So the first thing to understand with failure, that we all go through it. There isn't a single person in this world that has not had any failure. Everybody has failure, and that's okay. It's even good for you if you can see why. Because without failure, we will never learn our weaknesses and what we need to work on and what we need to improve. It builds your character, it shapes you, it makes you so much more resilient, so much more prepared, that the next time that whatever situation comes along, you know exactly what to do. You know how to manage your emotions, you know how to manage your actions, because you've been there and you've learned from it. So once you get to the concept of failure is just as beneficial for me as winning, because both teach me something, both open my eyes to something. And that's when you will stop seeing failure as something that defines you. You'll start seeing it as a part of your journey. And that's my first advice to you guys. Your failures are not who you are. They do not define you. There's you, and these are your failures, and your sins, and your mistakes. We're human. That's what happens. We have to go through them. As people, what we tend to do is that once we've failed, we tend to replay that scene in our heads over and over again. And it becomes like we cringe ourselves out. And what we don't realize that all of that is an illusion. So we're just making ourselves relive that fear and relive that experience for no good reason. So that's why the fear builds up, because when you go through failure and you can't accept that failure and you can't differentiate it from that's not who you are, your self-worth, then the fear builds up that, okay, the last time that happened, I felt like this. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't get over it. And everybody else saw me and everybody else was cringing for me. And therefore, I can't take that risk again. I can't put myself through that. But it's important to understand that your life is actually way worse off if you don't take that risk, if you don't try that. Because the worst thing is to live in regret. You always want to be in a place where it's, oh, if only, instead of what if. Because when you look back and that regret's there and you haven't tried, the only person that you're going to hate for that is yourself. You have got to try again. Just because it didn't work out the first time, you need to take that experience and learn and see where it went wrong, what you could improve on, and how you could go back more stronger and more prepared for whatever it is that you want to do. So when you're very, very fearful of trying something, then the best thing to do to kind of put your mind at rest is to literally sit down and think of the worst possible of outcomes. So if you do this, what are the worst things that could happen to you? And once you've established all of those things, you have to take a step back and think, would my life still be better if I succeed in this? Or is the success not worth the potential failures? And if you think that it'll still be better, which most times, 90% of the time, it probably is still better for you to take that risk, then you've got to just prioritize what serves you best in the long term, what will benefit you. So a small failure that you think everybody remembers and everybody thinks about is just that, it's a small failure. You just make it a big deal in your head because you're so fearful of it happening again. But most people around you don't even care. They're dealing with their own failures. So they're too busy trying to fix their issues rather than be concerned about what happened with you. And the only person that really cares about your failures is yourself. So you build it up in your head into something that's much more bigger and much more intense than what it actually is. And at the end of the day, regardless of the failure, you're still better off taking that risk and learning from it and coming away understanding yourself better, the situation better, and whoever else you're dealing with on the other side. Because you, for one, will know exactly, if I do this, this is the reaction I'm going to get. So it's a process of elimination. Then you know that, okay, this for sure doesn't work because I've tried it. So let me try the other tactics. But at least you have something to start with. At least you have a base, you have a foundation that you know this works, this doesn't, so I'm going to take a different option. But if you don't try anything at all, then you actually have no foundation to begin with. It's all an illusion in your head and you're building the worst possible options of everything. So when you think back of all the times you failed in life and really think about it, did you die from them? Did they break you? Did it really put you back that much? And when you think about that, no, you survived. No, here you are. No, you're a lot more educated in yourself now. So you're actually a lot more stronger and more resilient. So you have more ammunition to tackle this issue than you did before. And at the end of the day, you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So if you've been through a failure and you're living, breathing here, chilling, then you're fine. You can handle it. You've handled it before. And the more times this happens to you, the stronger you become. I'm sure that your failure was a horrifying moment for you when you experienced it. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, you're still one step closer to your goal. So isn't that better than where you started off from? And that's what you always have to remember, that failures are essential in personal growth and building your character. They're just as important as your wins. By understanding that everybody has failures, by understanding that your failures do not define you, they're just a small part of your journey, and by knowing and accepting that if you don't take those risks and you don't fail, you will never grow and you will never be closer to your goals. It's what helped me take those risks and make those mistakes and learn from them and grow. So it's really important for you guys to look at failure as a win. So it's, you win some, you learn some. And that's the best way to always look at it. You know, there's nothing wrong with failure. There's nothing wrong with taking a step back, reevaluating, and tackling things again with a fresh perspective. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that this is helpful for you guys to understand how to just cope on times that you feel like you're a total failure, because you're not. We all are. We all go through it, and it doesn't define us. The sooner you start appreciating your failures the same way as you appreciate your wins, is the sooner that you will be able to take those risks and not be so fearful, and not let that fear of failure control your decisions in life. It is a vital skill to learn for personal growth and in order for you to get a step closer to your goals. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you again here next week. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment and like, and I'll see you guys here again soon. Mwah.